Good morning and welcome to our conversation today at Trinity Lutheran Church. And today we're looking at that story of Elijah one more time. Remember, the story is of Elijah's meeting with a widow, and Elijah has just announced that there's going to be a famine in Israel, and he meets the widow and he asks her for something to eat, and she reveals that she only has a little oil left, she has a little flour left, and she's basically going to make a cake for herself, make a cake for her son, and they are going to eat it. And then she feels that that will be the end of their lives. Elijah, however, brings a promise from God. And that promise is that as long as Elijah's with them, that oil will never run out and that flour will never run out. In fact, it won't run out through the whole famine. And it's a story of unexpected blessing and an unexpected way that God cared for those people. And there's a lot of stories kind of like that. And our friend Scott Everhart is with us today. And in a minute, we'll have him share one. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mike?
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for folks at home that maybe don't know you?
Yeah, I've been at Trinity probably since, well, I moved to Mount Joy from York in, I guess it was 87. And shortly thereafter, then we started at Trinity. I eventually got involved in the youth, but it was a little bit of a time. And at first I was just like a backup or an assistant to like Thorny. And I wasn't a whole lot of help. I was there in spirit, but I wasn't really, I didn't feel like I was helping a whole lot. Michelle got involved. She had asked one Sunday if I wanted to lead the lesson for the senior high youth. And I was kind of looking around to see who she was talking to because I didn't feel I was qualified to do that. But I knew it was a great opportunity, and it was definitely a step I needed to take. And I needed to get out of the boat with this one. And that was a big thing for me. And I just, as much as I hope I helped the kids, I know they helped me, and they were a blessing to me as well. And hopefully they got something from me helping out. It was probably like 15 years that I was involved with youth.
Yeah, and you were great. You were a great help. And let me tell you, I mean, no matter who you are doing ministry, you always feel that way. You always feel like the people have helped you more than you've helped them in a lot of ways. One of the things you did once was back in the day, so to speak, we used to take a trip to Washington, D.C., and we would work with ministries that help people experiencing homelessness. And your story that is kind of legendary with a lot of the kids, even though they're a little older now, those kids that were with you on that trip, is a really good story. So could you share that with us?
I will, and I got to admit, this whole thing it's been a few years now since that's happened, maybe at least 10 or probably more than that actually. But anyhow, I'm humbled by the whole thing because when this whole situation happened, I guess I didn't, I knew, I didn't think about it as God working through me, but as I reflected on it later, definitely that was an opportunity that He worked through me, and I actually got it that time. I think there were other times maybe. He certainly tried to work through me a lot more times, and I probably didn't get it. But this particular time, we went to a shelter, and I think they were serving meals, but also it was like a place where low income or homeless people could go there and they could get clothing if they needed that. And I just remember this one particular gentleman came in, and he seemed like a real educated person, but he seemed like he had some mental problems. He had told some stories that pretty much were unbelievable, but the gentleman was troubled. And also he had just come from a hospital because he had these little slippers on that the kind they give you when you're in the hospital, and that's all he was wearing on his feet. And I think it was like, I don't know if it was March or February. It was not warm out. I remember that.
Yeah, we usually went in like February, so it wasn't right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't remember the lady's name that was there anymore. And he was looking for shoes, and he had like size 12 or something like that. So I go back in the room where there was thousands and thousands of shoes in there. There was not one pair of size 12s that would fit this gentleman, So I just happened to have the right shoes on me. So it seemed like a simple act to just say, hey, look, just give him my shoes. And the lady was like, are you sure you want to do that? I said, yeah, these are 12s that he can have them. I want to give these shoes to him. So, I mean, I didn't really think it was a big deal, but it was not a big deal for me to give that to him, but it was a big thing for him to receive them. And I think the big thing for me was how I felt so blessed that God worked through me to help this gentleman. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize that right away, but I realized it later. And we always talked about, God's work our hands, and
Yeah.
And that was a perfect example of that. And they did. I guess he needed a pair of socks too, and I was willing to give those up as well. But I think they did find him some socks.
Yeah.
So I walked back to the youth hostel in bare feet. And I think the ground was rather damp from some rain or whatever. But I'm not complaining at all. I was just so blessed that I could help this gentleman out. So, I mean, I could go buy another pair of sneakers where he wasn't in that situation where he could provide for himself.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I think it's a beautiful story of unexpected grace that you brought to that man's life, being, as you so aptly put it, God's hands. And that's our call. And I know when you all came back, the kids couldn't stop talking about it. Scott walked 5 blocks, in Washington, D.C. in his socks. So you not only brought him a great gift, though, you also taught them a lesson, and I don't think any of them ever forgot it. So.
That makes me feel happy. I mean, the kids our children in our church are so wonderful. They're amazing. And I just loved every minute helping them. And, went on various trips. I know you as well. We went to New Orleans. We had some conversations down there, and people would always ask me, well, did you enjoy the trip? And I said, yeah, I did. But for me, it was about the kids. I mean, if the kids enjoyed the trip, I enjoyed the trip, because to me, it was all about them.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, that is a great story, and I'm so glad you shared it, because a lot of people at church have not heard it. And thank you for blessing that man, and thank you for blessing our ministry. And I hope everybody today can think about that story and try to be an unexpected blessing for someone who really needs it. Okay. Well, you have a good night, Scott. All right.
Thank you as well.
All righty. Thanks so much, everybody. Goodbye.